Okay, does anyone want to say anything about their SEO expertise before we get started?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm going to be off video because you can hear the noise. I'm traveling back from Nairobi to Mombasa, so I'm at the train station. But the main thing is I have outsourced for someone to work on my website. I just really need to understand, especially how to get the keywords.
Okay.
Because as much as it does it for me, I think it's better I also know how to get the keywords. Yeah. So I'm here to learn more, but in the actual sense, I've outsourced someone to, I normally tell him what to do and then he puts in the word. I hope he uses the keywords. Yeah.
Okay, so the person you outsource to is someone who is doing the optimization and is creating content and doing link building, or just optimization?
Mostly the content. I would think it's content, and then he has to make sure my website and my social media pages are up to date. But most times I'll give him an activity I've done or about to do. Then it's up to him now to try and make it look beautiful. But it's something I want to know. How do I get to find these keywords? If I want keywords, where do I go to?
Okay.
Yeah. So now I'm going off camera.
Okay, well, I appreciate the fact that even though you're traveling, you're still attending the webinar. So thank you.
I'm very interested in this. I may outsource, but I'm very interested.
Yeah, actually, the whole there's impossibility for someone to be a business owner and at the same time be an expert in SEO. So the training presentation, the information that is there is for you to have enough level of knowledge so you can make educated decisions in terms of if you want to hire a freelancer or an agency to help you do any SEO task, but also to know the basic. If you there are a few things you can do yourself as well, but no one is expecting from you to become an SEO expert, especially that you have businesses. So your priority and your time should be spent on growing the business and trying to outsource specific tasks that can help you grow to expert and specialist. So you mentioned already one of the points that I want to start with. I think we can start. Vera, I know some people are sure. I know some people are still joining, but we can start.
I think yes, we can start to have an introduction.
Yeah, this is the worst part in the webinar. When I talk about myself, it's not something I usually excel at, but can you see my screen? Okay, so I'm gonna take this as yes. Okay. So today's webinar is about 5 steps to a successful SEO strategy that is specifically designed for e-commerce. So we'll go through the 5 steps. As I said, these are not going to be very much in depth. So we're not going to show a tutorial on how to do all of these steps. But everything is available in terms of tutorial, depending on whether you use Shopify or WooCommerce or any other platform for e-commerce. All of the tutorials are available there. I just want to give you an overall picture about what matters in terms of SEO, in terms of steps you can do to be able to give your website a chance of ranking on search engines. So as I said, this is the part I don't like. I just want to say a few words about myself. So I'm a digital marketing strategist. I founded a company that's called Skill Surfing, where we do webinars and courses. I will tell you a little bit more about it in a minute. I've been working for a really long time with startups and SMEs because I understand that their needs and requirements are very much different than big multinational businesses. So I'm not expecting everything to work the same. And this is, I think, one of the main concerns when you outsource. When you try to find someone to do your digital marketing or your SEO, you want to find someone who has experience working with small businesses because the scope and the way of working is different. So what I really specialize in is customer acquisition, content marketing, which you will see a little bit of in this presentation, digital advertising, and growth hacking. So one of the things we do at Skillsurfing is basically an online learning platform that is specifically designed for small businesses and entrepreneurs. But it's different in ways where it's not only self-paced learning, but you have online classes. So we all come together during the course to help you, to guide you step by step to build and implement the strategies that you will develop during the course. So it's not one standard fit all practice that you apply, or you get, as I said, the recommendation and tips from people with multi-dollar businesses, but this is all mainly tailored and focused for small businesses. So I'll share the link with you at the end of the session, the links to my LinkedIn profile and the company, so you can, because we create a lot of educational content as well on there. So what we will cover today is basically we'll do a quick introduction in what is e-commerce SEO. The first step would be keyword research to identify ranking opportunities. I know you've talked about this in the beginning. It's not going to be an in-depth look at keyword research, because also this requires someone who is expert in SEO, but I will show you a little bit of how the keywords are different and how you can find keywords that is possible for you to rank for instead of competing with big websites as well. Step 2 is site architecture. So how to design a website, how the architecture should be for something that is easy for search engines and for people to browse. Step number 3 is technical SEO. So all of the things that you can do on the back end of the website to help rank higher. Step number 4 is on-page SEO, which is content marketing and keyword optimization and all of these things that will help you in the long term. And step number 5 is basically focused on blogging, which is content creation to help you rank, because just doing SEO when you launch a website in the beginning is not enough. So before we get started with the training content, I want to tell you, just any case, if you have any question, don't wait until the end of the session. I usually like that people interrupt me during the webinar and ask me questions directly, because sometimes the content builds on the previous slide. So instead of waiting for the end and losing your focus, just interrupt me, unmute yourself, and ask me immediately the question. So let's start with the basics. Let's talk about what is e-commerce SEO, because it is a little different than the regular SEO in a way where it is for an online store. So you, as online stores, you don't usually create enormous amount of content. You have product pages with product description that are quite short, and this is the general trend, but we're trying to change that. But in general, when you create your e-commerce website, you don't have a lot of content that is created to help you rank. So the whole process of doing e-commerce SEO is to be able to generate organic traffic from search engines, whether this is Google, Bing, or whatever search engine is more popular in the country where you're doing business. The main aim is to help you rank on the first page, which is the first 10 organic search results. And I'll tell you primarily why. It's because I think you surf Google as well, and you surf all of these search engines, and you know that you rarely go to the second page of search results. But even though if you rank on the first page, there is a difference in the click-through rate for the first 10 positions. So the first position gets on average 27.6 clicks, which means if you rank on the number 1 search for that specific keyword, 26% of visitors will click and go to your website, which is ultimately the main goal from all of this effort that you're doing. And the further down you go, the less clicks you will get. So ideally, we want to rank on the first page, but the higher up you can be on the page, the better it is. And more importantly, here you want to use search terms that your potential customers might be using. And this is something we face when we are doing programs with ITC, is that you expect people to use specific keywords, but in general, when we do the research, we discover that they search in a different manner and they use different keywords, because we tend to put technical keywords as business owners. So one thing that's very important for me to highlight in the beginning is to tell you that it's not a one-time thing. So having e-commerce SEO is not something you can do just in the beginning. It's something that will have to be a long-term strategy. So if you want to invest in e-commerce, just know that it's gonna be a long-term investment. But I always get that question in a way where is it better that I invest in SEO or content marketing as opposed to advertising? So I usually use this graph to illustrate the difference. Let's say you have here a budget of $1,000 with paid search or with advertising, whether it's on Google or on social media platforms. It will overall always generate the same amount of leads. So with $1,000, let's say, you will generate 9 leads. But with content marketing or SEO, because you start with the SEO, you have to continue with blogging and content marketing. At some point, whenever you start building your content on the website, you will start generating leads that have higher value or return on investment than the paid search. The paid search will vary a little in terms of the cost, but it will always generate the same amount of leads. So that's my argument, whether someone asks me between paid and SEO, which one is more sustainable. It's of course SEO, but just as long as you know that you need to have proper optimization, continuous optimization of SEO, and to do consistent blogging. So you have to have a regular output of blogs on the website, even though it's an e-commerce website. So step number 1 is to do the keyword research to identify ranking opportunities. This is the basic. This is something that we do before sometimes we set up the website in the first place. So a keyword, it's a particular word or phrase that would represent the content that you have on your site. So it's also the specific word that people will look for, and you want them to find your content or your website for that keyword. It's important that the keyword represent what is actually on the page, because if, let's say, you end up ranking for that keyword and people go to your website and it turns out it's misleading in a way or another, they will bounce back, and that will give a signal to Google that you are ranking for a keyword that's not relevant. So this is part of what you add when you create your pages in terms of the metadata that helps you rank for the appropriate keyword that you want to set up. Now, there is something that we call also a long tail keyword. So it's usually 3 or more words as a keyword. It's not one word, but it represents a higher intent, meaning the person who is searching for that long tail keyword has a higher intent to purchase. So for example, if we compare hair extensions versus 20-inch brown hair extensions price, so the person who is looking for the long tail keyword is obviously aware of exactly what he or she wants and is looking for a specific website that has this product or wants to see what is the average price for that product. Whereas someone looking for hair extensions could be someone who's simply looking for information about hair extension. That's why we say we have 3 types of keywords. So you have navigational keywords. So this is when people search for a specific website. So for example, when you open your browser and you go for google.com, that's a specific website. Informational keywords is when you're looking for a specific type of information, you want to learn something, or you need the answer to a question. And you have transactional keywords, that's when you want to buy something and you're looking for a specific product. As an example here, I have two examples. One that is informational. For example, is it okay for dogs to be outside in the rain? So here you're looking for an answer to that question. Whereas when someone looks for raincoats for dogs, it means they already know that they need a raincoat and they are looking for a specific one. And that's where you find search results from Google that are related to products as well. So that's two different ways of looking at keywords, but it doesn't mean that you only have to rely on specific keywords or product-related keywords, such as raincoat for dogs. You can also answer some of the questions that people have related to your product or your overall industry that might help you rank as well. And that will be step number 5, which is blogging. I've added here also another example in terms of to a little bit expand your views on keyword research. You might already have basic knowledge about what are the keywords that people use, but also in terms of, we're going to still talk about a dog-related product. So one overall topic could be dog food container if you're selling these on your website. But a very popular keyword is dog food container 50 lb, which is the size of the product. Is it metal or ceramic? That's also another keyword. You would see that the search volume is decreasing, but also that means that whoever is looking for a ceramic dog food container actually knows exactly what they want. So it's not someone who is looking for different options. They want a ceramic dog food container. So it's not necessarily bad that you have a smaller volume. It means that you have also higher intent. All of these are long tail keywords, as you see. And you will find at the end of the example how to keep ants out of a dog food container. So that's an answer. That's a question that you can answer in your blog or in your Q&A section on the website. The same for best dog food. So it differs for best dog food for puppies, for pit bulls, for picky eaters. Apparently, picky eaters, we have dogs that are picky eaters as well, and how to choose the best dog food. So all of these are keywords that are relevant to the products that this website is selling, and they have good search volume, and it's worth to optimize these the products or blog pages for these keywords. Now, you might do the keyword research and end up, especially if you divide them in different categories, and if you have a big number of products, you might find a endless list of keywords that might be relevant for you. So how do you narrow it down and really focus on the keywords that will matter to you or are easy for you to rank for? Because as you will see, the competition is extremely high in terms of SEO. That's why usually e-commerce websites, they tend to shy away from e-commerce because they're competing from SEO, because they're competing with big, huge websites that have that publish content every hour, for example, or every day. So it might feel a little overwhelming, but it doesn't mean that you cannot find keywords that you can rank for. So you need to find a combination between volume. So of course, the higher the search volume, the more potential traffic to your site, but also competition. So if you used any of the keywords tool before, you will see that you have volume and you have the organic and paid competition for a specific keyword. So you want to have as much as possible high volume, low competition, and high intent keywords. That's why we generally recommend that you start with long tail keywords. So keywords that are longer than 3 or 4, because usually that has a lower volume but higher intent. And usually lower competition. It really depends on your industry. And it also depends on the country where you are operating in. So if you have no competitors in that specific country, maybe you will not find a lot of search volume, but you will have, for the small search volume, you'll be able to very easily rank as well. So that brings us to step number 2, which is the site architecture for the e-commerce. As I said, this might differ in terms of whether you're doing your e-commerce stores with WooCommerce or with Shopify. But usually they are all, if you have a theme, if you bought a theme, they are all more or less optimized for that. So my main point here is to help you understand why does that matter for e-commerce. So the architecture is basically how your pages are organized. So the layout, the how you can move from one page to another. So that affects, first thing, your search and engine rankings, and we'll see why, but also your user experience. So one of the indication that Google takes as your website being very valuable or has good content or good information is by how long people spend on your website and if they move from page to page and not bounce back immediately after they land on your website. So user experience helps you increase the amount people spend on your website and the overall pages they visit per session. So in the beginning, if you already know that you're starting with a small portfolio of product, but you plan to grow, just plan to have a site architecture, and I'll show you how in a minute, that is easy to scale. So something that you can add to later, and you will not have to redo the architecture of the website altogether. One thing that I see a lot with small businesses, and especially with e-commerce, is that they design their website, it looks great, but they have one main functionality that's very annoying for visitors, is that every time you go to a product page, you'll have to go back with the back button to go back to the previous page. And that is a really bad design user experience to have on your website. So a few tips for a good site architecture. So you want to have it simple, but easy to scale by thinking in a sense where you don't want your homepage and your product page to be very far apart in terms of how many clicks you need to get from your homepage to your product page. Because as you see here, usually your homepage will have the highest authority in terms of SEO or Google authority, because it's the page that people will come to the more often, and it's the page that people that other websites will link to the most often, given that you are an e-commerce website. So the further away your product page is from the homepage, the less juice, we call it link juice, but in terms of authority will be dispatched from the homepage to your product page. So really that's why, depending on how big your portfolio is, you may want to skip the subcategory here and have homepage, category, and product page immediately. If you have a big portfolio of product, you might want to do this architecture in a way where you have more than one subcategory under each category. So really, that's very important in terms of helping you to rank for your category pages and your product pages. And we'll discuss this also a little bit further down the line. So that's how authority is moved in terms of ranking or importance to Google from your homepage to your product page. That's why usually, I mean, it's possible to rank for category pages, but it's more complicated because category pages do not have content. It's only the category description that you have on the homepage. So there are a few things you can do, but it's pretty hard to rank for a category page. One tip that you can use to help avoid the back button on your website, and I think this comes built into most Shopify themes, is to have breadcrumbs. So breadcrumbs is the little bread section that you see on the screenshot. It's just a division of the different categories that people have before landing on your product page. So here, that's, for example, men's shoes and everyday sneakers. So instead of clicking the back button, they can just click on everyday sneakers to go back to the category page or the subcategory page in that condition. So that helps people, that helps the navigation on the website for people and for Google as well, because it explains to Google how your website is structured. In case you don't have this, you don't have Shopify, you can use an application that's called Category Breadcrumbs that will add this to your website. But I think it can also be developed within your themes as well to help improve the navigation on your website. That brings us to step number 3, which is the technical SEO. So technical SEO is something you as a user, people don't see, but it's seen by what we call crawlers. The crawlers, or the spiders that crawl the World Wide Web, are programs that indexes all of the pages that are available on your website, and eventually all of the pages that are available on Google. So these pages will find your website and move from page to page to index all of the pages that are there. That's also one main reason why a proper website architecture is important, so that this spider or this crawler is able to find all of your pages. Does anyone have a question, or just a newcomer? Okay. So the crawler also finds the website the same way as I mentioned in terms of the site architecture. So sometimes we see websites where the links are missing between the categories and the subcategories, or for example, there is no contact page, or there is a page but there is no linking between the contact page and other pages. Sometimes if it's not linked, the crawler would not be able to find that specific page, which might also affect your ranking possibilities on Google. So what you need to do in terms of a technical SEO, probably this is something you've already done, but it doesn't hurt to go through the basics once again. So you need to first submit your sitemap to Google Search Console and try to fix any site errors. Sometimes there are certain things where, for example, you created a blog and changed the URL of the blog. So you have two URLs that one is submits to a 404 page that has no content whatsoever, and another one that sends to an actual blog post. So it's not only something you do once in the beginning. You need to make sure that you have no errors on your website, because that will significantly affect your rankings as well. So you create the Google Search Console account and you submit your sitemap to be indexed and found by search engines. Whenever you do any major changes in the structure of the website, it's also recommended that you submit your sitemap to the Search Console. So it's very easy. I mean, there's basically nothing. It's very simple to do. You just Google how to submit your sitemap, and it will give you step-by-step indication on how to do that, depending on if you are on Shopify or WooCommerce or any other platform. The main important thing is that when you actually submit your sitemap, you will receive something that they call a coverage report. It will tell you, it has 3 levels of errors, let's call them. So you have one error, one valid with warnings, and one valid. Valid, it means that your page is good and you have no issues with indexing the page. Excluded is something that you might decide not to rank for. It's something that maybe your developer has done at some point. But more importantly, you want to prioritize the focus on the pages that have error. So here, if you're working with a freelancer or an SEO company, you want to make sure that they tackle the errors in the beginning. So these can be a variety of errors. I'm not going to go into the technical stuff with you, but that's one example I shared with you in terms of if your website, if let's say you deleted a page, but you already shared it on social media and someone clicked on it, they will go to the error page. So that would be something that you want to remove or stop indexing as a page. Also, sometimes you might decide to, for example, on skill surfing, we have pages that are specific to courses content. So it's something that we decide on purpose not to index, because this is something that people will have to pay to access the course. So you have to make a series of decisions based on the coverage report that you get in terms of the technical SEO. You also want to optimize your images for speed, because we'll talk about this in a few minutes as well, and for web crawlers. So these crawlers do not only crawl your website content in terms of the text, but they also crawl images. So you want to make sure that they are able to find the information related to the images as well when they're crawling. So there's one, I don't want to say misunderstanding, but misconception in terms of if I resize images or I make them smaller in terms of weight, that it will affect the quality of my image. But that's not true, and I'll show you an example. But it would also help your website load faster, which is very important for conversions. It's very important for people to actually enjoy the experience on your website. So one of the things that I usually use as an argument to convince people that they need to do that is that on average, the images, they make up 46% of the size of your web page. So by improving your size or reducing the size of the image, you improve significantly the loading time of your website, which is a priority, but also should be your number one optimization requirement in terms of SEO, because you can do the optimization that you want in terms of ranking for keywords, but if people land on your website and if they land on your website and takes over a minute to load, they're not going to stay longer on your website. So it's recommended that you use also images in JPEG or PNG format. So JPEG is for photography. So if you're taking pictures, and PNG is for illustrations or graphics that you might use, you might create on Canva or anywhere else. It's recommended that you reduce the size of your image below 70 kilobytes. I would go maximum as high as 100, but 70 kilobytes would be just the ideal optimization. That's an example I wanted to show you in terms of the misconception of the size of the image and how it affects the quality. As you can see, you have a PNG of 6 mega, JPEG of 3 mega. Of course, none of these should be on any website, and a GIF of 11 mega. So you don't see any real difference in terms of the product, the image. It's not a product really. But you can always test it. If you don't believe me, try to resize it and try to see how fast it loads and also the quality of the image. Okay. Second thing we need to do in terms of optimizing your image is to add what we call alt attributes. So as I said, crawlers are going to crawl your website, but they can read text, but they can't read images. So the alt attributes is how you will help them understand what the image is about. So this is also for SEO, but it's also important because it will help you rank for Google images. And that's another way of ranking that has nothing to do with just the keywords as well. So for example, you don't want to just say what the product is. You want to describe what is in the image to help improve your rankings. So instead of saying, for example, facial toner 250 ml, you want to say image of Pixie Glow, that's a brand, tonic facial toner in 250 ml, a highly concentrated, invigorating facial toner to deep clean your pores. So this description will help you rank for Google images, but it will also help you rank if the keyword that you want to rank for on the product page is also included here. It will help you rank also for the product page itself and not only the Google image. So it's about trying to describe actually trying to sell the product in that description, but it will help the crawler understand what's in the image itself. So for example, that's another thing I see on a lot of websites. Usually people save the image that they want to use and they upload it in the same way it was saved, in the same name, so sometimes we see when we optimize website, we see website with images with random numbers. And we see, so ideally you want to have also in the file name before you upload it, a short description of what the image is. Of course, you don't want to say the same description as the alt text, but it helps if in the image name also you have the same keyword that you want to rank for. So on WordPress, if you don't create your own alt tag for the image, WordPress will automatically make it the same as the title of the image. So in that case, it would be Corgi Puppies Adoption, New York City. So it's better if you optimize the alt tags for the keywords that you want to rank for as well. I mean, it might seem like it's a huge task to review now if you already have existing websites and they are already running. It might look like a huge task to go and edit all of these, but you can start with your products that have the higher value for you or the most popular. Or you can do also, you go to Google Search Console and see where you're ranking for specific keywords. And if you're ranking on the end of the first page or the beginning of the second page, you can start with these products as they have the highest priority to improve rankings with a few optimization that you might do. Another element of technical SEO, which is very important, is page speed. I mentioned this a little bit before, but just to give you an example of how important it is, not only for Google, but for users, is that so let's say your page takes 3 seconds to load, which is already nothing considering, you will already automatically lose like a third of your potential visitors or your potential customers, as opposed to if it ranks and if it loads in 1 second. So your aim is to have 1 second and less in terms of loading your website. And when we think about these small differences in terms of the second, you now realize how important it is to optimize the images and to have them smaller than 70 kilobytes, because they consist of more than 45% of the web page size. Okay, so I can't stress this enough, how much it's important to optimize the images. And there are a variety of websites where you can test your website speed. And I think it's very important that all of us do that after the session, so you can try to measure a little bit where you're ranking in terms of loading time. So that's for users in terms of if they bounce back off your website, if it takes longer than 1 second. But also it's very important criteria for Google to rank, to help rank websites that load quite fast. So, I mean, it's both the users and Google. So that brings us to step number 4, which is on-page SEO for e-commerce. So this is something, if you're participating in any of the programs of ITC, you already know a little bit about this, but I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in on-page SEO. So at this point, you've done your keyword research and you're optimizing your site structure and hopefully the images as well, and it's loading quite fast and everything. What you want to do is to optimize. You have your keyword research, but where are you going to use it? So it's time to optimize your 2 highest value pages, your product category pages and your product pages. The reason why I say 2 highest value pages is because the homepage is of value, but these pages will help conversion. So in terms of impact on the bottom line, they have a higher impact on your sales. So we want to also prioritize these pages. Again, remember, the more juice or authority they have within Google, the more they can give authority to sub pages, which are the product pages and everything that comes after. So how do we do on-page SEO? On-page SEO is about the title tags, the meta tags, and the meta description. for your product pages. So as I said, if you already done this with ITC and any of the ITC programs, you know that these are very important and very key, and you know where to find them, whether you're using Shopify or you're using WooCommerce. But most importantly, these all three tags and description should include the keyword that you want this page to rank for. Okay, and it should be, of course, related to the product that you're selling. So the same keyword should also be used on the alt text for the product images. So that's why when you do your keyword research, you want to find the ideal keywords for that. And it might not be just dog food for puppies, for example. It can be something that's longer. So just keep an open mind in that way, because you want to find the sweet spot in the keywords that you want and can rank for. Also file name. So if you're uploading an image, also it should include your keywords. On-page SEO also includes the URL that you use for the blog post, for the product pages, and for the collection. So for example, if you use Shopify, these are automatically customized. But if you use WooCommerce, you can play a little bit around with URLs to include the keywords that you want to rank for. So a few guidelines in terms of choosing the URL. It should be easy for real, actual, live humans to read. So, for example, if I don't have the link, but I want to tell you that go visit my blog, I should be able to tell you it's www.website.com/blog/etc. What's the topic of the blog? So it should be that easy for people to read, and you don't want to have a very long keyword, it's very long URL that is longer than 50 or 60 characters. So just keep this in mind when you're picking your URLs for the blogs or even for the category and the product pages. The main keyword should also be included in the URL. So if you use any of SEO plugins like Yoast, for example, you have the different checkboxes that you need to confirm to make sure that your page is fully optimized for SEO. One of them is that your keyword should be included in the title, in the URL, and in the first 2 or 3 sentences, I imagine, from the blog post or the product description. So they are all guiding you in that direction. But what remains to be done is to pick the keywords that is possible for you to rank for. One thing as well that you want to avoid is to do keyword stuffing, which is putting the keyword that you want to rank or a bunch of keywords a little bit everywhere on your product page. Eventually, Google will spot this, and there might be, depending on how intense you did the keyword stuffing, you might fall in the rankings and have a black mark on your records with Google. And it's not something that you want to risk at all. So that's an example of how you can choose your URL. As I said, it should be something that I can easily tell people instead of sending them a link. It should be easy for me to memorize. So depending on how your website is structured, you want to have / subtopic if you have a big blog post section, or a / blog title immediately. So it would be helpful if you go and revisit all of your URLs to make sure they are up to the recommendations. Now, something related to product description, and I know, well, at least people who have worked with me on the ITC project, I know it's something we struggle with in terms of writing unique product description. So it's very important for the SEO because this is the only content that is available on the product page. There's not going to be any other content unless you write specific blog posts and they rank for that. But that's the all amount of content that's going to be on your product page. So you want to write unique description with a lot of important details to help you rank. You definitely do not want to copy and paste a description from either the manufacturer or the supplier, because Google immediately identified this as a duplicate content, which means that they will spot the first publisher or the manufacturer or the supplier as the original content creator, and you are duplicating the content. So even if you take the description from the manufacturer, take the essence of it and rewrite it yourself. So that's not only helps in e-commerce, but in SEO, but it also helps conversion. So the way you write it, the way you describe the product will hugely improve conversion on your product pages. So this is the same tip as I said before. If you have a huge product catalog, you can already start by focusing on the top products or the products that are already ranking on the bottom of the first page or the top of the second page first, and then move to revisiting all of the unique product descriptions. So here I have an example of, well, if I were a crawler on Google search engine and I read surely not everyone was Kung Fu fighting, I have no idea if that's a shirt, if that's a mug, if that's a movie, if that's anything. It's just I have the sentence that really doesn't describe anything that's available on the product page. Not to mention that there is no information about the material that is used, the fitting, the washing recommendation, anything that is related to the brand or nothing. So if I was a crawler, I would not understand any of that. So here you have another example of a trunk. It's better. It's not in terms of product description. It's not ideal, but it's better. So it's written in a funny way that might increase conversion. That really depends also if this is part of the brand identity in terms of being funny. So you have the fit. If, for example, you're buying from this brand the first time and you don't know what size you would be since it's your first time. So that's a good thing. You have the material and how and the details in terms of like the different aspects or the different functionalities of the trunk. Not that it's a very complex product, but at least you can see that they've made a little bit of effort in terms of providing additional information for the user and for the search engine, for the crawlers as well. So that's not the ideal description, but that's much better than the first one where we have no idea what's the product at all. Okay, here, I mean, the price is missing, but I just took a screenshot from the description. Another thing that is very important that you can do is to take advantage of what we call the latent semantic indexing keywords. So these are keywords that are closely related to your main keyword, but they're not by itself a keyword. So I'm going to show you an example. Usually how I find these is that I go through a quick Amazon search or any other keyword research tool. But Amazon, I mean, they have like some interesting product description or titles for the product, so it's helpful. Let's say I've taken an example from a blender. So let's say you're trying to sell a blender and you go on Amazon and do a quick search, and you see that this specific brand of blenders includes in the product title keywords like 14 speed, for 50 W-watt for the blender, but also the size of the glass jar. And you see that it's repeated in the title, but also in the description. So obviously these are important criteria that people use when searching for blenders. And these are, as I said, LSA that can be used to really focus a little bit your keywords. Instead of trying to rank for blender, you're trying to rank for blender, 14 speed, for 50 W glass jar, and so on. So it gives you an idea of the different additional keywords that you can use. But also if you use Google Keyword Planner, and this is one thing I mentioned in the beginning, that sometimes we use keywords that we think people search for, we as brand owners or as whoever is doing the SEO, but sometimes it helps to get ideas from Google Keyword Planner, because I say, for example, that I search for blender, but there are people who are looking for a smoothie maker, which is not exactly the same keyword in terms of competition or monthly searches. But that means that you can differentiate yourself, and instead of competing for the word blender, you are competing for smoothie maker. So you also have best blender for smoothies, mini blender, food blender, and that might be all different products, but it gives you an idea of the different keywords that you can use for different products that you have. There's also a hand blender, which is, again, a completely different product. Another thing also that you want to do on page on your website is to create internal links. And this is something that most e-commerce websites do not do. So creating internal links is to try and get your visitors to stay on your site the longer possible, because as I said before, it would give an indication to Google that this is an interesting website and people are enjoying the experience there, but also the longer they stay, the higher chance of getting a sale. So you can add, for example, on your product pages, link to relevant, reading material we suggest, and have educational blogs, or even suggest different products that people might be interested in and guide them to other categories like your bestsellers or other product pages that are possibly related. So one of the things that made the success of Amazon is by adding a section under the product page, under the product description, which is people buy frequently together, and then different products, and they automatically calculate the price for you, and they would tell you, okay, if you want to buy all of these three, you will have to pay that much. So that's one of the things, for example, that might be interesting for you to link to other blogs on the page, but that means that also they don't have to click the go back button and go back to the product. So once you link to other relevant material, you want to include an anchor text, which is the one that will that people will click on. So the anchor text should have also the targeted keywords that will help you create better internal linking as well on your website. One thing that people, as I said, don't do keyword stuffing, but you also don't want to go crazy with internal linking. So you don't want to have everything linking together. So you want to think in terms of having 1 or 2 links every few hundred of words on your blog. And if you want to do that also on your product pages. So the last step in terms of step number 4, but step number 5 is quite short. So I promise I'm not going to keep talking for a long time still. Blogging is very, very important, as I said, in terms of SEO, but also in terms of building your reputation in your industry as a credible source, but also someone who knows exactly their industry and what they're talking about. It will also help improve your site authority, because as you create more content, you have higher chances of ranking for these keywords and a higher chance of being linked to by other websites, which is step number 5. So that will help you increase visibility in organic search. So e-commerce in general either do not want to invest time in blogging because they don't have the resources, or because they don't really understand its impact in terms of getting traffic to the website. And again, the only reason why blogging works better is that this is organic traffic that's coming to your website, instead of them being served an ad that they will click on and get to your website. So the relationship you build with these customers are more organic and more long-lasting, if you want. So if you are going to create a blog to publish blog post, like 1 blog post every other month, that's not going to help you with your ranking. You really need to have a content strategy that links different pages together and has a different, very unique strategy in terms of creating blog posts with specific objectives to rank. So one example that I think is very interesting is Olefin. They sell linens. So you might think, well, actually linens and everything that's related to sleeping. So it might not feel like the most blog related. I mean, there's not a lot of content that you can create around sleeping and around sheets. But if you look at their website, you'll notice that they have like a lot of blogs that are either tips or recommendations or how to wash or care for your linens. There's one blog post here that is about how to style your room altogether to make it look like a 5-star hotel. So obviously they did the research and they saw that this is something that people search for, and they decided to have a blog post related to that. So what they do is that with these articles that talk about general things, sometimes not only related to the product they sell, they also help or promote certain products that will that will help them increase their sales as well, and will help people convince people about the product itself. So their SEO, their blog is SEO driven. So the whole objective from what they do on this blog is to rank. But they also often use or create blog posts that highlight a problem that bidders or people are having, or sometimes customers are having. They get insights from the customer, their sales agent, that there is a specific issue that keep on coming up. So they create blog posts related to that, and they offer their product as a solution. So the blog post is not purely informational, but it's also not promotional. And that's one other thing that many people who invest in SEO tend to focus only on the product itself. But it's also about trying to be informational and build this reputation and as an expert in your field. So yeah, these are my final tips for step number 4. So think of creating content that solves your customer's problem. You want to also optimize blog posts for SEO with the title, meta tag, and meta description. And just an idea that too, you can present your products as a solution to the problem that people are having. And definitely not every post should be about your products. So that brings us to step number 5, which is a little bit harder in terms of it requires definitely someone to do that for you, which is link building. So this is like when other websites link to yours. Of course, if you don't have a blog post, no one's going to link to a homepage or a product page unless you pay for it, which is not recommended under Google white hat SEO techniques. So if you don't have any content, automatically no one's going to link to your website. So why is it important to do link building? Because when other websites link to yours, it means that you share some of the authority of that website that is linking to yours. So if another website that's linking to your website is a not important website or a new website, or that doesn't have traffic altogether, that's not going to have an impact as much as if it is a huge website with a lot of traffic and ranks very high on Google that is linking to yours. But you don't really start with the big website. You build your authority a little bit step by step. But that gives you authority in the eyes of Google. So they use the number of links and the quality and relevancy of the links to judge if your website has any quality or is trustworthy. That's why new websites, as a general, they have very low authority. And but building these backlinks can really help you rank faster and automatically have a higher authority. So it looks something like this. You will notice that here your website is a small circle in light blue, and there is this high authority domain here that once it links to yours with an inbound link, it automatically increases in sizes to represent how the authority of the new website increases. Of course, the more high authority websites you can get to that website, the higher authority you get. So one of the best way to do this, I mean, another way is to hire a PR and do very expensive PR, but that's not really worth it for a new e-commerce website. That's why one of the best way to do this is to find related website, related in terms of they have the same target audience that you want, but they don't necessarily, I mean, they're not competitors, but they have, you have links with these websites in terms of you sell products that are related or that you are in the same industry but do not compete with each other. And these related websites should, of course, have a better authority than yours. And you can provide them a guest post where they will publish it on their website. Of course, everyone loves additional free content. And they would include links to specific articles or specific product pages that you want to link on your website. Of course, you don't want to have a dozen links within that one post, but you want to diversify the different websites that you collaborate with. So it should be, the content should be relevant, and you should have the same audience as the guest post should have like a very interesting approach to your audience and to theirs, so that it drives also traffic to your website and provides real value. And that's it for the 5 steps in terms of e-commerce SEO. Just a final thought that I want to leave you with. I mentioned this in the beginning, but I think it has more impact if I repeat it now. First thing is that e-commerce SEO is not a one-time thing. As you see, it's something that's long-term, it's organic, but it has a higher value and higher return on investment. Optimizing your store for SEO alone is not going to be enough to rank. You need to create blogs, or have a content strategy to help improve your ranking. And of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, hiring SEO expert to help you should be something that you plan to do, but it's important that you know the basics of what you need to work, what you need them to work on. And in case they send you an SEO report, understand what they mean in all of this. So I'm gonna stop talking here. I think if anyone has any question, I see a question from Dukas. What's the maximum keywords we can write? You mean on one page or on the overall website? Sorry, if you can clarify this, it would be very helpful. I'm not sure if she's still with us, but per product. Okay, so per product, you can have a variety of keywords, but when you do your product page optimization, you can only, because you want to have that keyword in the title tag, title description, and the product description. So your priority should be one keyword, but in the description, you can add alternatives to that keyword. So let's say we said, I don't know, blender, you can have another word for blender or another keyword related in the product description. But you would have just one main that you want to rank the whole page for. I hope I answered your question. Any other question? Did I confuse you more than I helped you?
Hello, can I ask?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Let me just continue to answer the first question. It's not that it will show automatically in Google. It's that it will, if it shows, this is the keyword that you would rank for. If you want to pay for it, that would be something that will be Google search ads. So you can pay for ranking, as I've shown in the first, in the first slide, an example where there is an ad. Let me just share my screen. So here, in this one, you will see that this is an ad. So they are running an ad to rank for a specific keyword here, but this is organic. So you can see it is highlighted from the word ad or not. If you want to do advertising, it's different than SEO. So you don't have to have the same keyword on the page as well. I interrupted someone who wanted to ask a question.
Yes, this time, man.
Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you, Gina?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I have 2-3 questions.
Okay.
What we transfer the website, build the website in another system and transfer the website? This will have effects on the ranking and the SEO?
Yes, if you're transferring the website from what to what? That's
actually it's in Joomla, and it's then I'm doing a new version, so it will be it's built from scratch, but there will be WordPress for the back office.
Okay, so you said Joomla in the beginning?
Joomla, and then it will be now made,
Okay,
there's
okay.
IT programmer doing website from scratch.
So you already you answered the question. The fact that you're creating it from scratch is that you have a different a website altogether in terms of for Google. So it doesn't. It means you'll have to do the SEO work from scratch altogether.
Yeah, but I mean the content will be transferred to the new, because actually it's
yeah, but the authority is not. So so unless you have the same domain, you might still have the same ranking for specific keywords, but it might be a little tricky because it will have to be indexed again, and it might take a little bit of time to start showing the same rankings as before. But I mean, if it's the same website domain name, I think it might be okay, but it really depends on your site structure and architecture.
Or should I keep the old one for time lapse in order to build the new? I don't know how technically it is done.
I mean, the only reason, if you're already ranking and have a high traffic, that might make sense. But if you're not getting a lot of organic traffic, I don't think that should be a main deciding factor in moving the website to WordPress.
It is about 70,000 per year. No, it's big. Or
traffic, organic traffic.
Yeah, unique visitor.
Okay. Wow, that's it's a big decision. Yeah, there's one thing that developers can do is that to have redirects for your more popular pages. Mm-hmm. So if you already rank for something that's like a #1, or you have a huge ranking, so they can redirect them to the new website. But I think that's gonna take a lot of effort. My recommendation is to see with your developer, but also to have definitely to keep the current website while you do develop the second website. And but the main issue is that if you have duplicated content, then you're going to be competing for the same ranking. So I think this question requires a big debate, and there might be some losses when you do that, but you should be able to, I mean, you obviously have a good SEO strategy, so you need to be able to recover some of this traffic.
The other question, please, excuse me, is can we know who? Because I receive often from time people who are able or willing to help you to know who is visiting the website, in order to target potential customers, etc. Can we know who are the people visiting the website?
Specifically, the names? No.
Really, there's a website in the UK. I don't have the name now.
I think that's illegal, especially in Europe. But What you can do is, I mean, you already know you have Google Analytics. So what you can know is the different basic demographics, location, age, where they're logging in from, the devices they use, how much time they spend on the website. There are a lot of things you can do from Google Analytics. You can also see the path that they follow from the first page they land on to the last page before they leave, how much time they're spending. There are a lot of tools that you can use to know how people are behaving. There is one that's called Hotjar, that does screen recordings of people's visit to the website. So you can see where they're hovering, where they're going, where they're clicking, and so on. But from knowing who exactly or what's their background or things like that, that's really possibly, unless you do a survey or you have a pop-up on the website, you can't really know that. And you shouldn't. Let me be clear.
Yeah, but really, it's crazy. You know, people are saying that they don't know how they do it, but it looks that they, you know, the email, maybe they're using artificial intelligence. You know, the email people surfing, something like
that. Do you have one more question, or because
yes,
there is a very weird question in the chat?
Yeah, the last one is. Should I, or because you said that, because actually I have a website and I created a website for e-commerce. So can I use the website, actual website, as I said, which generating about 70,000 visits per year, to promote the new e-commerce website?
Are they related in any way?
I mean, could be the relation, could be. It's not the first one is like a blog talking about economic relations and economic articles. So the second one is e-commerce. So yeah, you know how we can create. I mean, as far as
I mean, that's one example of guest posting, as I was saying. So what you can do is, if it makes sense to your audience, I mean, unless the audience is exactly the same that you want on your website, there's absolutely no point in doing this, because you would just be putting content in front of people who would not be interested in it. But if it's the same audience and the industries are related, this is exactly an example of guest posting, as I said. So in one way you are the blog publisher, and another way you have the e-commerce. So you can write a blog that is that talks or links back to the new e-commerce website. But as long as it's not sales post, so it's not that you're promoting the website by saying, oh, it's a great website, but it's provide information and educational content for your target audience.
Thank you.
Sure. There's a question in the chat: how to secure your website from cyber criminals. That's a very, very wide question, but I'm just gonna take this as being related to e-commerce and not just general cyber criminals. So the main thing that you need to do is have a good hosting provider, and at the same time have the SSL certificate, which kind of gives an authenticity for people that will put their credit cards on your website. But unless you're speaking about a specific type of cyber security issue, I might be able to answer that question because I have some experience, but not a cybersecurity expert. So I don't know if I answered the question, but unless we have another question. You want to create, okay, is there any tool where we can create a content for post without hiring content manager? You mean blog post or a social media post without hiring content manager? I mean, if it's only about writing the content, that's one thing. For the blog. If it's only about writing the content, then yeah, but if you you need maybe to have the keywords that you want to rank for that content. There is a tool which I haven't experimented with. It's Rank Math. Rank Math is the equivalent of Yoast SEO, so it's a competitor, and they've released something that's called Rank Math AI. So yeah, I'll share a link. Let me find it. So it's an AI powered tool that will help you optimize your blog to a level where it helps you rank, just because it takes live information from Google search, and it's not only based on just general tips in terms of SEO. But to be very honest, I haven't tried it. I bought a few credits, but I haven't tried it myself. So if you do, just please let me know. I'm going to send you the links to my LinkedIn profile and to my company. So in case you have any additional questions after that, or if you have a feedback on Rank Math AI, just let me know. There is one tool which is copy.ai to help you write. I'm going to send you the link as well. Copy for social media. I'm not sure if it helps with blog post content, but I think in terms of the best one, it would be Rank Math. So here you go. That's you can use it to write copy for your ads, for your social media posts, things like that. That opens a whole debate in terms of human or AI in terms of content and marketing, but that's a topic for another time. Any other questions? Okay, there's someone who asked if they will receive the recording. I think that's a question for Elvira.
Yeah, actually the recording will be added under the event on Ecom Connect. So if you access maybe on Tuesday, the portal, you will find the recording under the name of the event.
Okay, thank you. So unless there are no other questions.
Jennifer, actually, I have a question concerning the keywords, because now we have this debate between the professionals if we should use the most known or most useful keywords, or we should create our own keywords and promote them and then use them so we can somehow have our own identity. So what do you think about that? Because recently a lot of professionals, they are asking to create your own keywords, like a mix between the top ranking keywords and the industry keywords and your brand identity keywords. So do you think this can be done with the good results, or maybe the return on investment will be small comparing to the work to be done?
I mean, as far as I understand from what you told me, I think it really differs if it is a new website or a website or brand with big brand awareness. I mean, if Coca-Cola decides to create something and call it XYZ, it will be different than if I decide to invent something and create a lot of awareness for people to start searching for it. So it really depends who, what type of businesses we're talking about. But I don't see the reason why behind inventing or coming up with our own keywords, at least for SEO, unless the industry is saturated, which means that at some point you're going to have losing businesses and winning businesses, and automatically it will create a balance in the industry landscape. But other than that, I'm not sure I have like the full arguments of why anyone would do that at this point.
So it's better to go with the top keywords used for the industry, for the product category, for the country. So to have this exercise of research, not to invest in paid activity, but to have someone to do research in-house to dedicate some time. So the investment will be our time to do the exercise.
Exactly. And I would think also think creatively in that ways, because I think it's something that comes up a lot in the mentoring sessions. So for example, one of the SMEs from the first batch from the Wi-Fi project, Maya, we had a debate about, for example, a product name. So she works in jewelry, and her products, she wanted to optimize her bracelets for bangle, the keyword bangle. So it will be gold bangle. So I was like, okay, but that's might not be the keyword that most people search for. So instead of debating this, let's open Uber Suggest and look whether people search for gold bracelet or gold bangle. But that's just one example that might be relevant. For example, also yesterday during a session with one of the SMEs that works in furniture, she has a specific way of calling her product names, which is, I don't know if it's called Ratan. Ratan, that's one thing that they use in furniture as a source, main product. So I had no idea for that, for example. So there was a debate of whether to use this as a keyword or you go for traditional or more use keywords. So we looked at the data and we saw that actually she was right, because apparently this is a common use name either, but it really depends who searches for the keywords. And it was better to optimize for the keyword that she suggested. So sometimes it's good if you ask someone who doesn't work in the industry to do the keyword research, because you will get a whole other perspective. And if you have a website that ranks high already on specific keywords, you can see what are the keywords that you're ranking for, and it gives you an idea of also what people are looking for and how they are finding your websites as well. Which SEO tool would you recommend to invest in, like SMEs, SEMrush, and so on, that can work still in Arabic countries? Why, you mean Arabic countries or Arabic language? I don't think any of them works in Arabic language. Maybe SEMrush. In Arabic countries, unless they are specific restriction. I think it depends on your level of or your skill. I'm a big fan of Uber Suggest, but they do not provide all of the information that Ashraf or Ahrif, the way they pronounce it, works. So, but it is a little bit more complicated. So if you want to start with a tool, I would say, and a paid tool, I would recommend you go for Uber Suggest. So this is the Neil Patel tool. If you feel more comfortable, I think both SEMrush and Ahrefs are good tools, but they are a little bit advanced. Podcast will help in organic search rankings. That's a good question. I'm not sure, and my personal opinion would be no, because podcast is a listening medium, and so you hear the podcast. It doesn't rank on search engines, but I have never tried this. So that's an interesting, but I don't think so, because podcasts are hosted on applications that are outside of the Google domain of influence. Any other questions? Okay, I think we can end the session here. Thank you for staying this late with me. Thank you, Elvira, for the organization of everything and for the catch-up.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I'm glad.
We are looking forward for the next session. So
yes,
we may organize another session next month. So maybe next
So
week we can
content
share.
or advertising?
Yeah, we can have now some voting.
Okay. Apparently, people here want cybersecurity training.
Exactly.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you
Thank
in
you.
the next
Bye
webinar.
bye.
Bye.